From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazan. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You guys can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast and wherever you watch your podcasts, especially on our new YouTube channel. Click the little like button right there, subscribe, and hit the bell. You get notified whenever we upload a new podcast. Sean, you were out at day 2 of Saints Minicamp today. Give me your first thoughts, man.
Yeah, I want to get into that. As Sil said, be sure to like, subscribe, rate, review wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the Fox 8 Overtime YouTube channel. Also, the Final Word feature on the Final Play app. I want to hear from you guys. Your questions. Yeah. Send them in. You guys do it all the time during the season, but the offseason is a good time to ask some questions, get some good storylines as well. Here we are at the time of this recording of this podcast. The Saints have completed 2 of their 3 minicamp practices. They are just about to close the book on the entire offseason program. What I feel confident in saying, what this minicamp has shown me is, with everyone in attendance and everyone on the field with the new coaching staff, new-ish coaching staff, new players, all being on the field for the first time together this week, the energy and excitement of what this team truly can be is present. What they can be is present. You're starting to feel the building blocks, and you can see it. You can visualize it. When you watch them practice, that's good. That's good. They're going to be it's starting to become more and more real, and the vision of what they had, when they're writing their notes down and doing their exit interviews, what they wanted to achieve in the offseason, the vision for each player, what they got, how they're building this roster, you can kind of see the vision come to fruition on the football field, really for the first time this offseason, because everyone is in attendance. I cannot reiterate this enough. The energy is a complete 180 this year from what it was at this point last year. Last year, it was stale. It was awkward. It was eerie. A new head coach, a former head coach that still hung over the organization. This year, it's crisp. It's confident. It's alive. It is alive. The energy is there. It is alive. You know what I'm saying? There's a vibe. There's a juice. There's some flavor. There's some excitement. And it's really like over the last couple of practices, still one more to go, but it's really starting to manifest itself in these last 2 practices that we've seen, where both sides of the ball have had significant plays back and forth, which is exactly what you want in a minicamp practice. In any kind of practice, you don't want one side to dominate. You want to ebb and flow, a back and a forth, an offense and a defense. When you have a good team, a well-rounded team, you want to see both sides of the ball make plays. You see Alvin Kamara on a wheel route from Derek Carr, where he beats Zach Bond for a touchdown during 7-on-7. You see Chris Olave on a 9 route during 2-minute, on the first play of the 2-minute drill, where Derek Carr just lets it fly with coverage from Alontae Taylor on him, all over him. He makes the contested catch and runs in for the touchdown. You see Marshawn Lattimore opening up 7-on-7 Tuesday, his first day of practice, with a pass breakup, where he's running all the way across the field on an over route to knock the ball away from, I believe, Traquan Smith. And you see Alontae Taylor closing out practice today with a pick 6. Long way to go. Long way to go. And I am not here to oversell, undersell. I'm here to give you a real objective take on what I believe this team can be, and how I feel like this team is viewing themselves. And there's confidence. And there's confidence, and that confidence is not a false bravado. It is real. There's a long way to go. The health is always the equalizer. Depth is always something, because it goes hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Health, depth, and I still am a little bit concerned with developed depth in certain spots because I like the front line everywhere, but there are some pieces there where if you got to dip into that second and third tier, there could be some issues. But given the division, given their quarterback, and given their roster, to me, the Saints have every right to feel confident and feel good and really be confident about going into the training camp, into the preseason, into the season as this offseason program comes to a close. I don't think one more practice is going to change that opinion of that. I'm confident in saying that over the OTA period and over the 2 of the 3 days of minicamp, big picture, you kind of see it coming together, and the confidence is not off the mark. It's there, and it should be because of all those things I just laid out. I just feel like right now, this team, this organization feels like they are in a good place. To see they're blinking the lights. That's okay. We're going to keep going.
I just replaced the battery.
That's all right.
All right. So I know you just talked about kind of the gist of what you saw the last couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Big picture. That's kind of like I feel like that's the theme of the offseason.
Right. So I'm curious now, the biggest, most important guy on the field, your field general, Derek Carr, what stood out most about him to you? His performance so far.
Well, make no mistake about it, like probably 80 to 85% of their confidence comes from having Derek Carr. That is evident. And I will just say this, and I will say it, and I've said it before, but I maybe I didn't clarify enough. When you watch Derek Carr from period to period, from drill to drill, from play to play, interaction to interaction, the organization has missed that so much. That energy, that presence, that just, it's just all there. He is not Drew, but he approaches it similarly to Drew in that he's a people person. He's talking a lot. They're talking through scenarios. And there's just a presence that I believe illuminates throughout the entire organization and allows that organization to be a little more free, a little more loose and confident, a little more, you just realize how much this organization missed that kind of presence when you watch Derek Carr. And they had it for so long, forever and ever. We thought it was going to last forever. It didn't. And then the window felt like forever from Drew Brees to now Derek Carr. It was only 2 years, but that 2 years is long enough when you had the filet mignon for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? When you've had when you know what it looks like, you know what it feels like, you know what it sounds like. He is, to me, I don't know if I said this on this podcast or just in conversation, but to me, top end, if everything you hope to get out of Derek Carr comes to fruition, he has the potential to be the second best quarterback in Saints history. Okay? I know that's saying a lot off of one off season, Sean. There you go, overblowing it. That's if everything happens and everything comes out perfect. That's the ceiling. Worst case scenario, he's an average quarterback. So you go from average to the second best quarterback in team history. That's where you're working from floor to ceiling. You'll probably end up somewhere in the middle there from week to week. But I think, frankly, from an intangible standpoint, he is a clear-cut upgrade, and it has taken all of like 2 practices to see. Just probably less than that. Just how much he operates, how much the efficiency, how he executes certain situations and things, just how much they missed it. I have still been waiting to see like I said before, one guy runs short, he throws deep. One guy turns left, he throws it right. He is hesitant or indecisive because, there was a check at the line of scrimmage and he didn't necessarily get it. And, to the receiver, it means this, but to him, he didn't quite understand what the code meant or the audible meant, and he went in another direction. That probably could have happened at some point. It just hasn't looked that way to me in the limited time we've been able to see. Now, I have seen, 5 practices now. I'll see the 6th tomorrow. It feels like, and I asked him about this, how comfortable are you with the system? Because it feels like that learning curve has been really quick. And Dennis Allen has talked about it, how the rapport with the receivers has picked up. He said it's been awesome. I think that's pretty genuine. I think that's pretty real. And like I said before, I think that has resonated throughout the entire offense and really throughout the entire organization. When you have the guy, or at least you have full confidence in that guy, you have a certain ease, that comfort, and going forward. And it's the last 2 years you just didn't know. You had a starter, but you didn't know if he was the guy. Well, I think the organization has now turned the page to, we know Derek Carr is the guy, and we're operating that way from this point forward.
I like just before we get on to our next topic, I like the reverence he approaches any question about Drew and like how he refers to him and everything like that. It's cool. He looks up to that and he studies him, and it's super cool to see. But speaking of a guy that shares a room with Derek Carr in the Saints facility, Taysom Hill, dual role. He saw some action yesterday at quarterback, much to the surprise of a lot of media out there.
Yeah. Well, first off, it was a surprise, but it was a pleasant surprise because in my mind, I went back to last year was the first year he was full-time tight end throughout the entirety of training camp. But by like week 2, he was already shifting back into Taysom role. And if you listen to Dennis Allen throughout training camp, and then by like week 2, you could tell the organizational thinking had shifted back to the Taysom role for Taysom Hill. Tuesday, he did most of his work at quarterback. Today, he did almost everything at tight end, even had a catch during, I believe it was 7-on-7 on a pass from Jake Haener. So I go back and I think about all those years. Like he wasn't here in 17. He was here in 18 through, 18. He was here in 17, but not in training camp, is what I'm saying. How many reps, how many third-string QB reps were essentially not wasted, but he could have been practicing other things, more things that he's likely going to do in a game. Instead, he was doing just traditional third-string quarterback stuff until the year he competed with Jameis Winston. Then it made sense for him to be a quarterback. And, obviously he lost that competition, but ended up getting on the field that year because Jameis got hurt. So, that's what he's going to be. He is going to be a part-time quarterback, part-time tight end, part-time H-back, part-time slot receiver, part-time fullback. I mean,
there's no name for what he plays.
And look, and he has got.
He's athlete.
Well, he's a weapon.
Yeah.
And practice that way. You're an athlete. You're a unique player. Practice that way. I don't want to see you all training camp running tight end routes.
Yeah.
Add it in, but sprinkle in some QB power, sprinkle in some plays where you're throwing the ball, sprinkle in some plays where maybe you're lined up at the the F tight end move guy, and doing certain things. So to me, they have now evolved their thinking to let's start letting him be Taysom earlier, because this is probably what he does week to week anyway in the regular season.
Yeah.
This week he does this week he's going to do that. So that's how he that's how he practices during the regular season. Let's just extend it. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows what he can do. Defining a position for Taysom Hill is pointless. I was thinking about this. He's versatile as a player because he's pretty malleable. Is that a word? It's like when you can kind of bend.
That is a word.
He's got like the perfect body type to play a lot of positions. At 6'2", 225, 230, 6'2.5", you can be a quarterback. You can be a tailback. Yeah. You can be a tight end. You could be a slot receiver. You could be, you could be an undersized outside linebacker. You could be a linebacker. You could be a safety. So, and then he combines that with elite speed and just enough of an ability to keep you honest throwing the football. And to me, practice him like the weapon he is. There is no sense in spending all off season. I guess with him it's only been 3 practices, all camp, doing one thing, and then by week 2 you're doing something completely different with him. Yep. So I like the transition of Taysom Hill.
It's like being a multi-sport athlete.
Exactly.
Just gotta do different workouts. All right. And so now we kind of stay in that area. Let's move to the backfield, though, or move to the right or left of the quarterback, depending which way you look at it. Alvin Kamara. Obviously, it was fair to say last year was a little bit of a disappointment for Alvin Kamara.
I would say so. I would absolutely say so. And
how would you say this could be different for him now?
Well, he hasn't been around up until this week of minicamp. Last year, there were moments it felt like maybe things off the field were hanging over him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because body language is different in certain times. Now, he had his moments. He had his spurts, like in Cleveland and other games. But for him to have any sort of longevity past this season and him to not hit that wall that running backs seem to hit, the number is pretty simple, all right? First 4 years of his career, he averaged 168 carries in the season. Now, look, that was a 16-game season, so factor that in. If you want to add a 17th game, make it 180 or whatever. The last two, he's averaged, in fewer games he's played, averaged 231. He's not built to handle that. So they made the investment with Jamal Williams. They made the investment with Kendre Miller, who's obviously been hurt. But to me, Alvin Kamara is different this year if you resort back to Alvin Kamara from 2017 to 2020. And what I saw on the field today, I was like, thank you. Because I was thinking about this. 2017 playoff game against Minnesota. This is just two plays that stick out in my mind. Kamara catches a wheel route in the end zone for a touchdown. I think it was like the game-tying touchdown in Minnesota. It was the Minnesota Miracle game.
Yeah.
Okay? A wheel route from like that 18-yard line. Wheel route. 2018 or 19, they're playing Philly. And he, just destroys Malcolm Jenkins on a 9 route. A 9 route. So a running back running a wheel and a 9, it was like a huge play. We haven't really seen it since. Well, guess what? Today we saw the wheel route. Today we saw the wheel route, my favorite route in football. It was a beauty. Derek Carr saw it in 7-on-7. Look, Zach Bond had no chance. That poor guy, he's lost his stack linebacker. But at least in that scenario, going up against Alvin Kamara, he caught it, he hauled it in. It was fantastic. We just haven't seen it in forever. I'd have to go back and check the tape to see when was the last time Alvin Kamara really connected on a big play wheel route. That was such a staple, especially as Drew got older and his arm declined a little bit. That was always a huge part of what they did because they were able to get chunk plays off of, not necessarily deep throws.
Yeah, I think the last time I genuinely saw Alvin Kamara take over a game was 2021, that game against Seattle.
Yes, that was a Kamara game. There's no doubt about that. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the last one that really stood out to me.
Well, I thought he played well in Cleveland last year.
Yeah,
and I thought there was some tough yardage and there was some games. You got to do my season rewind because I don't want to be just a prisoner of the moment and just pretend like he didn't do anything last year. That's not the case.
Yeah, no.
But he had a career low in touchdowns, and I think that's meaningful. And I do think there were times last year where he was doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, the game against Oakland, Las Vegas, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of heavy lifting. He's 5'10", 215.
Yeah.
231 carries average over the last 2 seasons. That's too much. And I think you'll see him get back to like 165, 170, 180, whatever. But you're going to see, the carries went up, but the receptions went down.
Yeah.
You got to have a dynamic balance there to be kind of a Marshall Faulk type. So I think you'll see his receiving, hopefully, in a perfect world, his receiving numbers go up, his carries go down, and I'll be curious to see how that plays out in training camp and into the preseason. But, look, in case you haven't figured it out yet, I think there's genuine excitement, and me trying to be as objective as possible, not a homer, I think there's reason to be excited about the Saints team based off of what I've seen this offseason.
Different energy on the Saints facility on Airline.
I love it.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the little bell notification button. You get notified whenever we upload a new video. For Sean Fazan, I'm Vasilios. This has been the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.